The myths they laughed at. The Galactic Senate was a grand room, filled with the brightest and most powerful minds from across the stars. It was a place where decisions that shaped the future of the galaxy were made. Yet today, the Senate Hall was filled with laughter. Trava, an alien historian from the planet Vorga, stood at the center of the room, holding an ancient Earth relic in her hand. She was nervous, but her passion for the truth pushed her to continue. "This," she said, holding up an old dusty data pad, "is an ancient record from Earth. It speaks of the mighty human armadas, warships that could change the course of history with their strength and cunning." The room erupted with laughter. One senator, a massive reptilian creature from the Rigona system, chuckled loudly. "Humans, the ones who died out centuries ago. Their ships were nothing but rusting scrap metal," he mocked. Trava's heart sank, but she stood firm. "But this datapad doesn't lie. The records tell of their legendary warriors, humans who outsmarted entire fleets with nothing but their willpower." She paused, letting the weight of her words settle. The humans were said to have created warships so powerful they could take on entire fleets, ships with technology that was beyond any of us. Another senator, a sleek insectoid creature, clicked its mandibles in amusement. "That's a myth. Humans were primitive. Their weapons were nothing compared to what we have now. This is all just fairy tales." Trava clenched her fists, fighting the urge to shout. She had spent years studying these myths, tracing the stories through ancient Earth texts. She knew there was more to these tales than simple imagination. But in the eyes of the galaxy's leaders, she was just a fool, chasing shadows. Still, she couldn't give up. She had seen the ancient records. The humans, in their final days, had spoken of the last warship, their pride and their hope. The ships they sent out at the end of the war, hoping to turn the tide, had left Earth to explore the stars. Some believed they were lost forever. But what if they weren't? The humans didn't just disappear, Trava argued, her voice steady, but filled with conviction. They left behind something more than just myths. The records speak of an armada that was meant to change everything. And it's possible that these ships still exist. The laughter died down, but the senators only looked at her with pity. The reptilian senator shook his head. "You're wasting our time with these old stories. Earth is dead. It has been for centuries. The humans failed, and their ships failed with them." Trava felt her chest tighten. She had never been so sure of something in her life. "I have proof," she said, her voice growing stronger. "I've detected something. Signals from the edge of the galaxy. Old Earth code. The same code used by their warships." The room went silent. For a moment, no one spoke. The tension was thick. The senators exchanged uncertain glances. No one had expected this. The reptilian senator narrowed his eyes. "And what do you think this means, Trava?" "I think it means we've underestimated them," Trava replied. "I think the humans left behind more than just their myths. Their warships might still be out there, waiting." The insectoid senator leaned forward, its antennae twitching with curiosity. "You're suggesting that the humans' lost warships are still out there, somewhere on the edge of the galaxy?" "I am suggesting," Trava said, "that if we don't take this seriously, we might find ourselves face to face with the very thing we mocked." A murmur of discomfort rippled through the room. The idea of facing an ancient, powerful human armada was absurd. But for the first time, there was doubt in the eyes of the Senate members. Could these myths be true? At the back of the room, a quiet figure watched the proceedings. She was not a senator, nor a diplomat. She was just a scientist, working on her research in the shadows of the galaxy. Her name was Marin, and she had spent the last decade trying to uncover the truth of what had happened to Earth. She had always believed that Earth's greatest secrets were hidden away, locked in time. And now, it seemed, Trava's discovery might be the key to unlocking them. As the Senate session came to a close, the debate continued to rage on. Some senators were still mocking the idea, dismissing it as a fool's quest. Others, however, began to wonder. The signals Trava had mentioned were real. They had been picked up by their best sensors. But the mystery remained. Why were they still sending signals? What had happened to the humans? Marin quietly left the Senate chamber, deep in thought. She knew the risks of pursuing the truth about Earth. The galaxy had moved on, leaving the humans behind. But something told her that the past was about to resurface, and when it did, nothing would be the same again. As Trava left the chamber, she overheard some of the senators talking in hushed voices. "What if she's right?" one of them asked. Another voice replied, "Then we'll have to prepare. If the humans' warships are still out there, we're not ready for them." Trava felt a cold shiver run down her spine. The truth was slipping through the cracks. The galaxy had mocked Earth's stories, but soon they would learn that the humans had never truly gone away. The Armada, or whatever was left of it, was coming. And when it did, the galaxy would understand the real meaning of Earth's legacy. The black space beyond the edge of the known galaxy was quiet, so quiet that even the most advanced sensors picked up nothing but silence. And yet deep inside that silence, something old had begun to stir. A signal, small and broken, repeating the same old Earth code again and again, whispering across light years with no answer. Marin sat alone in her dark lab aboard the observation ship Silent Watcher, her eyes fixed on the signal data that had been coming in for the last 32 hours, and the more she stared at it, the more sure she became that this was not a natural echo or some ghost code. It was real, and it was human. She leaned back in her seat, her mind spinning with questions, wondering how such a signal could exist, and if it truly came from the old human warships mentioned in Earth's forgotten myths. Then what else could be waiting out there in the places the galaxy had stopped watching long ago? Her assistant, a young Silari technician named Varn, entered the room, his 4 eyes glowing in the dim light as he placed a data pad on the table and spoke in his calm voice. "I checked the coordinates again. The signal isn't just random. It's moving, slowly, like a patrol route." Marin's heart skipped a beat because deep space patrol signals were rare, and only ships running silent protocols used such patterns, which meant this wasn't just some lost satellite. It was something that still worked, something that still watched. What if it's one of them? She asked quietly, almost not believing her own words. What if one of the old human warships survived the collapse? What if they're still out there, waiting? Varn tilted his head. But why would they wait for so long? Earth has been gone for centuries. Marin stood up, walking over to the large transparent panel that showed the stars beyond. Because maybe they were never waiting for a signal. They were waiting for the right time. Meanwhile, on the other side of the galaxy, the Galactic Senate had entered a state of quiet fear. Though they never admitted it in public, many senators had already ordered secret scans and deep space surveillance near the sector where Trava had reported the strange Earth code signals. And something strange began to happen. Ships that were sent to investigate went dark. No explosions, no distress signals, no debris, just silence, as if they had vanished into the void without leaving a single trace behind. The whispers began to spread among the traders, the pirates, the outer colony explorers. People spoke of a region where the stars themselves seemed to blink out, and no one returned who entered that space. They called it the deadline. Back aboard Silent Watcher, Marin made her decision. "We're going there," she said to Varn, her voice steady even though fear clung to her like ice. "We'll follow the signal, track its pattern, and find out what's hiding beyond the edge." Varn looked uneasy. If this is really a human warship, and if it's still active, it could see us as a threat. "Then we won't act like one," Marin replied. "We go silent, no weapons, no lights, just shadows. We learn first. We speak later." It took them 3 days to reach the border of the dead zone, and as they got closer, their ship's systems began to glitch. Radar flickered. Cameras went dark for seconds at a time, and static crackled through their communications, even though no one was speaking. Varn whispered, "It feels like something is watching us." Then the signal changed. It stopped its old loop, paused for 3 long minutes, and then sent something new. A short, sharp pulse that looked like a warning, followed by a single ancient Earth word. Observed. Marin's hands trembled as she read the translation on the screen. "They know we're here," she said. Then the stars outside the window began to shift. Not move, but change. Like massive shapes blocking the starlight, slow and silent, rising from the black. They were not on radar. They made no sound, but their outlines became clear as they drifted closer. Ships, enormous, angular, and terrifying. 1, 2, 3. Each ship was shaped like nothing modern, built with sharp lines and armor thicker than anything Marin had ever seen. And though they were clearly ancient, they looked as if they had just been made yesterday. "Human warships," Varn whispered in awe. "They're real." Then the lead ship's lights flickered, not as a weapon, but like an old language being spoken in light. Marin stared at the blinking lights, decoding them slowly. "Message incoming." She read the simple, chilling words aloud. "Stand down. You are in restricted human space. Turn back." Varn looked terrified. "They think we're the enemy." Marin shook her head. "No, they think we're intruders, which means they're still guarding something, still protecting something." And that was when Marin realized the truth. These ships weren't just survivors of a forgotten war. They were still on duty, still following orders, still guarding whatever secrets Earth had buried in the stars. The myths weren't just stories. They were warnings. And now, the galaxy had crossed the line. As the 3 giant warships floated silently in the dark space ahead of Silent Watcher, Marin could feel her heart beating faster, and even though she had seen hundreds of alien ships and ruins during her career as a xenohistorian, nothing had ever felt like this. Because these ships were not just from the past. They were alive, awake, and watching. The lights from the lead warship blinked again, repeating the same old Earth message: restricted space. Turn back now. Inside the ship, the tension grew thick, and Varn looked at Marin with wide eyes full of fear. "We should leave, Marin." They gave a warning, and these ships are not like anything we've studied before. But Marin shook her head, staring hard at the shapes outside, because her instincts told her something much deeper was happening here. These warships weren't defending a territory. They were protecting a secret, something the galaxy was never supposed to find. And if they didn't try to understand it now, they might never get another chance. She turned toward the console and carefully opened a short-range communication line, using a basic old Earth frequency that hadn't been used in centuries, and with a calm but respectful tone, she spoke into the silence. "This is civilian vessel Silent Watcher. We are here in peace, seeking knowledge. Please respond." For a few long seconds, there was nothing but static, and then suddenly, one of the ships responded, not with sound, but with a simple digital message that scrolled across their screen in bright red letters. "Leave now. This is your only warning." Varn stepped back. "Marin, we have to go. They're serious." But instead of responding, Marin stared at the message, and then did something no one on her crew expected. She sent a new message, just 2 words, simple and honest: "We remember." And that changed everything. The warships didn't fire. They didn't leave. Instead, the middle ship slowly rotated, revealing a giant door on its side. A hangar, opening in complete silence. The message came again: "Then you may enter." Varn looked stunned. You think they understood that?" "I think," Marin said softly, "these ships are not fully machines. They're something else, maybe part AI, part human code, maybe still following commands from long ago." And that phrase, "we remember," might be a passcode they were waiting to hear. With a deep breath, she gave the order to move closer. As Silent Watcher drifted inside the massive hangar bay, they saw old Earth symbols on the walls. Faded, scratched, but still readable. Stars, eagles, unit numbers, and the old human motto: we endure, we avenge, we protect. The inside of the warship was even more terrifying and beautiful than they expected. Giant guns stood silent. Strange energy cores pulsed behind sealed glass, and the walls were lined with statues. Yes, statues of ancient human warriors in full combat armor, standing like guardians in a tomb. These warships, they're not just machines, Marin whispered. They're monuments, floating cathedrals of war. As they moved deeper into the ship, a drone flew toward them, round, silver, and clearly old, yet still functioning. And from its speaker, a calm female voice echoed through the hangar. State your purpose. Marin replied carefully. We seek to understand. We come from a galaxy that has forgotten Earth. The drone paused midair. Then it spoke again. Do you carry the myths? Marin blinked. Yes, we've studied the stories of the old Earth fleets, of the ghost ships of the final war. Most of the galaxy believes they are lies. The drone replied, almost coldly. Belief is not required. We exist. Then the drone turned and hovered down a corridor. Follow. Varn looked at her nervously, but Marin followed without a word, her heart pounding, because she knew they were about to see something the galaxy had forgotten, or was made to forget. They passed massive halls filled with weapons, some glowing with blue energy that made the air buzz, and others that looked like they belonged in nightmares, designed not just to kill, but to erase. Finally, they reached a room called the Memory Vault. The doors opened, and inside was a chamber full of holographic records, playing loops of ancient battles, Earth forces fighting against alien armadas, humans standing against impossible odds, and ships vanishing into hyperspace to escape final destruction. And one message kept repeating in the background. Earth is gone, but the mission remains. We guard what is buried. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Varn looked at Marin in shock. They're guarding something. Something Earth left behind. Marin nodded. Not just guarding. Protecting it from the galaxy. She turned toward the largest screen in the room, where a red line on a star map blinked like a pulse. What's that? Varn asked. A warning line, she replied. That's the border the ships will never allow anyone to cross. And what lies beyond it? He whispered. Marin narrowed her eyes. The true legacy of Earth. And outside the ship, deep in space, more signals began to light up. The human war fleet was not 3 ships. It was hundreds. Still hiding. Still watching. Still waiting for the galaxy to make the wrong move. Marin stared at the star map, her mind racing with the realization that the human fleet was not what the galaxy thought. The old warships, once lost to time and myth, had only been the beginning. As she watched the blinking red line, she understood the true danger of this discovery. The ships were not just guarding Earth's secrets. They were part of something much bigger, something hidden for centuries. Varn stepped closer to the map, his eyes scanning the glowing dots scattered across the galaxy. What are those? He asked, pointing to the faint blips that formed a long line across the stars. That, Marin said softly, is Earth's last Armada. It's still out there, silent, watching. The dots weren't just random. They were coordinates. Earth's fleet had been waiting, frozen in time, waiting for the galaxy to forget the truth. Each blip represented a ship, hidden in the deepest corners of space, ready to rise up when the galaxy least expected it. They've been waiting for centuries, Marin continued. The ships outside aren't the full force. They're just a small part of the fleet. The rest is out there, waiting for a signal to return. A cold chill ran through Varn. And now they know we found them. They know, Marin said, her voice firm. And they're not happy. We've just uncovered something the galaxy was never meant to see. As if to confirm her words, the ship shook. A low rumble echoed through the walls, and a warning light flashed on the control panel. The door to the memory vault slammed shut, and the holographic images flickered out, leaving the room in darkness. Varn quickly ran to the console, his hands moving rapidly over the controls. "What's happening? Are we under attack?" "No," Marin replied, her voice calm, but with an edge of urgency. "This is something else. They're reacting to us. They want us to leave." Before she could finish her sentence, a loud crackling sound filled the air. The drone from earlier appeared in the doorway, its body floating in the stillness of the room. Its voice, once calm, now carried a tone of warning. "You have learned too much," it said. "You must leave now." Varn's eyes widened. "But we didn't do anything. We came in peace. We just wanted to understand." "The galaxy does not need to understand," the drone interrupted. "The galaxy needs to forget. This knowledge is forbidden." Marin stepped forward, her mind racing as she tried to think of a way to convince the drone to let them stay. The information they had uncovered was too important to leave behind. But as she opened her mouth to speak, the drone moved back, its body hovering closer to the door. "Leave. Now." Varn looked at Marin, his face filled with confusion and fear. "We have to go. This is getting out of control." Marin hesitated. She didn't want to leave, not when they were so close to discovering the truth. But the drone's warning was clear. The deeper they dug, the more danger they were in. "We have to go," Marin said finally. "But we're not leaving empty-handed. We have to take something with us, something that proves what we've learned." She turned toward the map, her eyes scanning the dots that represented the hidden fleet. She pointed to one of the coordinates, a bright red blip in the middle of the map. "That ship. That's the one we need to find. It's the heart of the fleet. If we can reach it, we can learn everything." Varn glanced at the map. "But how do we get there? We don't even know where it is." "We will find it," Marin said firmly. "We have to. It's the only way to stop the galaxy from making the same mistakes again." The drone's voice interrupted them once more. "You will not leave with that knowledge. The fleet will not allow it." "We'll see about that," Marin muttered under her breath, her mind already working on a plan. She knew they had to move quickly, before the fleet decided to take action. She turned to the crew. "Prepare for departure. We're going to make a run for it. We need to get out of here and head for that ship." Varn looked at her, uncertainty still on his face. "Do you really think we can outrun them? The fleet is huge, and we're just one small ship." Marin didn't answer immediately. Instead, she turned to the drone, her gaze steady. "If you want us to leave, then let us go. If you don't, we'll be forced to take drastic measures. We've already learned too much." The drone's eyes seemed to flicker with something like anger, but it remained silent. Finally, it spoke, its voice colder than before. "Leave now, or face the consequences." With a final glance at the map, Marin nodded to the crew. "Let's go." The silent watcher powered up, its engines roaring to life as it slowly moved toward the open hangar bay. The door to the ship began to close behind them, but Marin didn't take her eyes off the map. The hidden fleet might have been waiting for them, but they weren't going to stop her. Not yet. The ship slowly slipped into space, and Marin couldn't help but feel the weight of what they had uncovered. They had just learned that the galaxy's greatest myths were real, but now it was too late to turn back. The warships of Earth were out there, still waiting for the right moment to strike. And the galaxy had no idea what was coming. The stars outside the window seemed to flicker and swirl as the silent watcher accelerated through the void of space. Marin sat in the command chair, her fingers tightly gripping the controls as her mind raced. The truth was now clear. Earth's warships were not myths, but a terrifying reality. And the galaxy had no idea what it was about to face. Beside her, Varn was watching the radar, his eyes darting between the shifting blips and the star map. "We're getting closer," he said, his voice strained. "But something's not right. The readings are all over the place." Marin didn't answer immediately. She was lost in thought, thinking about the ship they were heading toward, the heart of Earth's hidden fleet. The one that, if they could find it, might hold the answers they needed. The one that could change everything. But there was a catch. If they couldn't make it there first, the rest of the galaxy might never know what was coming. "We need to hurry," she said, her voice calm but with an urgency that made Varn look up at her. "What do you mean?" he asked, confusion spreading across his face. "We're already moving at full speed. We're already ahead of them." Marin's eyes narrowed. "No, we're not ahead of them. They know we're coming. We've been tracked." The words hit Varn like a cold wave. Tracked. He looked at the radar again, his hands shaking. "Are you sure?" "I'm sure," Marin said, her voice steady but grim. "We were right. The fleet's been watching us. And now, they're moving." Varn's eyes widened in realization. "They'll intercept us before we reach the fleet. We won't make it in time." Marin's fingers tightened on the controls. "We have to try. If we don't get there, if we don't unlock the truth about the fleet, the galaxy will remain in the dark. And worse, they'll be completely unprepared for what's coming." The radar suddenly went dark, the lights flickering as a warning blared. Marin and Varn both looked up, their hearts sinking as the entire ship jolted violently. The controls seemed to freeze under Marin's hands, and the eerie silence that followed was more terrifying than any crash or explosion could ever be. Varn's voice broke through the silence. "We've been hit." Marin quickly reset the controls, her eyes darting to the windows. Out in the void of space, shadows began to form, massive, dark shapes, silhouettes of warships that were far too large to be anything other than Earth's forgotten fleet. They were here, and they weren't alone. Marin gritted her teeth. She knew what they had to do now. Prepare for evasive maneuvers. We're going to make a run for it. But we can't outrun them, Varn said, his voice trembling with fear. Their ships are too fast. We won't survive this. There's only one chance, Marin said, determination creeping into her voice. We've got to reach the heart of the fleet before they can trap us. If we can get there, maybe we can turn the tide. Maybe we can make them listen. Varn didn't answer. Instead, he moved quickly to the control panel, setting the course for the coordinates Marin had given him. The radar flickered back to life, and for a brief moment, they could see the movement of the enemy fleet closing in on them. A cold sweat broke out across Varn's forehead as he realized just how close the warships were. "Brace for impact," Marin called, her voice sharp. "They're coming in fast. We need to move now." The silent watcher shuddered again, this time harder. The sound of lasers piercing the darkness echoed through the hull. The ship was being torn apart, piece by piece. Marin slammed her hands against the control panel, trying to keep the ship steady, but the damage was already done. The engines were failing, and the ship was losing speed. A voice crackled through the speakers, harsh and metallic. "Human ship, surrender now. Your journey ends here." Marin clenched her fists, refusing to show fear. "Not today," she muttered, gritting her teeth. Varn looked at her, his face pale but filled with determination. "We're not giving up, are we?" Marin shook her head. "We don't have time to give up. Get to the rear weapons. Prepare for a counterattack." "But our weapons won't hold them off for long," Varn warned. "We're outnumbered." "I know," Marin said, her voice cold. "But if we can buy ourselves enough time, we can reach the heart of the fleet. We can turn the tables." Just then, another explosion shook the ship, sending the crew tumbling across the floor. The lights flickered out again, leaving them in a stifling darkness that felt like the calm before a storm. "We don't have much time," Varn said, his voice laced with panic. "We're losing everything." "Stay calm," Marin snapped. "If we panic, we'll lose." She hit the emergency button, sending a signal to the rest of the crew. "Get to your stations. We fight until the end." As the crew scrambled to prepare, Marin's heart pounded in her chest. She could feel the weight of the decision pressing on her shoulders. The enemy fleet was closing in, but she wasn't about to back down. She couldn't afford to. Too much was at stake. The first wave of enemy fire slammed into the ship, knocking them off course. But Marin didn't flinch. She was already thinking ahead, already planning their next move. The battle had begun, and they were not about to lose without a fight. The fleet might have been closing in, but there was one thing they hadn't counted on. Humans never gave up.